So many of you are constantly asking me about which class they should play or which class they should main, or even if you're like a new beginner player, you're like, which how to select the best class in Aion. So I actually kind of decided to, talk about the classes in general in Aion. I know there are many tutorials and videos out there already, which talk about the Aion classes and just show you the basic classes and all that. So this video will go a bit more into depth of what exactly is expected from you in endgame and what exactly you can expect from the class. So this might help you to improve or just select whatever class you want to go for in general. Just one more thing, this video is actually sponsored by Gameforge, so even though this video is sponsored, don't worry about it. The video, the content, everything is still by me, and my personal opinion is in there as well. So I mean, if there's anything you don't like, just let me know, because in terms of classes, because everyone has their own experience and all that, in terms of classes, certain things can be different from your opinion or the opinion from someone else. But that's just something like, if you have, if you just want to let me know your opinion, you can obviously gladly just do that in, in the comment section, I guess. Okay, so one more thing, which is pretty amazing and important, is basically, so since if you're like an active player, or if you like a veteran player or something, or if you're a beginner, a total beginner, one thing to look for is basically this section. I mean, obviously it's in Korean right now, so you can't see that. It's basically transformations. So I'm not gonna say or talk about the transformation in general now and how to get them and all that. There are many videos out there. Just type in YouTube Aion transformations and you'll find out you should be fine, so don't worry about that. So all I'm trying to say right now, there is an event going on. It's regarding gold packs. So if you implement a certain amount of gold packs onto your account, I think it's like 100 in total, so you need like 80 to get the basic, and after that you can have another 20, which will give you the elite veteran rewards, and with that the last gold pack actually gives you a random legendary transformation. So the transformations are pretty important for you, because as you can see, they give you a different stats, which are basically, so the most important thing on here is basically the attack speed, the running speed, and also the cast speed. So depending on that, it might be best to, if you're a veteran player, to decide which class you should main. Okay, so having said that, let me go back to the character selection, and then we can get started. Okay, so now if I select onto new character, obviously you have two factions if you're a totally new beginner. Sorry for the jibber jabber, but the thing is just, some of you might be a totally new to Aion. That's why certain things can be helpful, but I'm gonna try to keep it minimum, because I do know that most of you who are watching are veteran players who have been playing for a long time and just want to decide for one class. Okay, so let me just go more deeper into the character selection. So right now in total we have like well, as you can see, 6 general classes, I guess, and every single one of them can then again split into into the main class basically. So we have like a plate class, which is like the tanky version, which is like the heavy armor. We have the assassin slash ranger thingy, which is more like the leather person. We have the magical classes, which use cloth as their whatever gear. We have the healer classes, which use plate. Then we got the gunner slash Etag, which uses leather and magical plate as well, so it's also kind of a tanky class. And then we have again a split, which is basically the bard and the new class, which is the painter, and they use cloth, magical and physical. Okay, so that's like the basic information which you should probably know. Now let's talk about the Templar first. So Templar are actually in the the main thing you should know about Templar are, I mean, they use shield and they use one-hand sword, and they also can use a great sword. The great sword is actually pretty positive if you want to do extremely good DPS in PvP wise. So first of all, I'm just gonna be talking about the PvP. Sorry. So in PvP, the Templar is more like the ground control slash I mean, he is the main tank for the game, but it doesn't, like in Aion, it doesn't really matter what exactly class you have, because in general it was different before, but now it changed. So what actually happened is, with every single class I just told you about, you can do a certain amount of DPS. With every single class in here, you can, if you have gear, if you have like minimum gear and all that, you can, do PvE, and you have your benefits and all that. So this class is mainly the main tank, but even as a tank, he has the possibility to do high DPS on PvE or even PvP, depending on your playstyle, depending on what gear you have and all that. So just if you decided for Aion, if you decide to go for the Templar, it doesn't mean that you have to be the tank everywhere. Kind of, it is expected from you in endgame, like depending on, if you do really the high class dungeons, you probably would be having the aggro all the time. But if you are in like some, if you're like doing easy mode Prometheus, or if you're doing like, I don't know, Makarna or something like that, honestly, it doesn't really matter if you're not the tank, because every other class, even the classes who don't have really high armor, are able to tank the bosses, because it doesn't matter that much anymore. But in general, so for PvP wise, this class can do a bit of crowd controlling. It is possible, like this class can defend the clerics, can defend the healer classes, supporter classes, and even the DPS classes. You are able to give them shields. You have your own shields which can be used, which reduces the DPS coming in. And also you can of course heal up and be like a wall in front of the fighting, even if it's like siege, if it's like PvP, PvE, or whatever. So that's basically the Templar, and that's basically what is mainly expected from you in endgame, that you are you're not only just doing like crowd controlling, but you are also one of the person who is the person, like in PvP, who is the one who is also doing PvP, and trying to do a little bit of crowd controlling, and just getting all the DPS classes from the other side or from the opposite side to kind of just save up your DPS classes in the group and all that. Okay, so one more thing that is probably important for the Templar is actually that the Templar got a few nerfs back in the days. It got improved a lot for the past update, but now it's actually pretty good. Like the DPS for the Templar is really good. So even in solo, if you don't want to be someone who is playing with others a lot, Templar is a good choice to go for, even though it's single target mostly and only, except if you are taunting other players, or if you're taunting other monsters or whatever. It's still a lot of fun. So if you like more the solo player, or even the group player, you can survive a lot being a Templar or playing a Templar. So let me continue with the second one. So the second one is actually a Gladiator. So the Gladiator actually uses the polearm, which you can see on the screen right now. The thing is that right now, even though the Gladiator can wear most of the weapons in Aion, there were some shifts in in terms of stats and all that. So right now the thing is that even though there are good polearms out there, but if you compare the stats between the big sword, like the two-hand sword or the polearm, the stats are basically the same. So just the attack speed is way higher than on this one, which basically means that in general, especially in PvP, but also in PvE, if you use a greatsword with the Templar, it's probably better, I guess. The issue with the Gladiator though is he even though he is one of the most he can be one of the most challenging classes in Aion. If you are a total new beginner, fighting all those magical classes can be kind of challenging at the beginning. But in general, if you have a good understanding of movement, if you have a good understanding of PvP in general in other games, the Gladiator can be one of the strongest classes in Aion, and you do have the possibility in endgame to basically fight everything and everyone and mostly win as well. So the Gladiator can also be a solo class, but since it you have a lot of heals as well, like while fighting others, if you attack PvE mobs, are possibilities that while doing DPS, you just get a certain percentage back to your health. So you're like more like kind of if you compare it to other games, you're like the berserker kind of thing. So since you're also wearing plate, you're just not wearing a shield. If you have a great sword, if you have like a full plate gear, the gladiators can be or will become a beast, and especially in PvE dungeons, many prefer to have like a gladiator in there because you have AoEs and you can just go jump in and use your extreme DP skills and all that and just start turning around, as we call it in Aion. And many or most will die if a good gladiator is in the group. Okay, let's continue. So for the next one, we have the Ranger. So the Rangers are, how can I say that? So the Rangers are supposed to be really squishy at the beginning for a long time, and the DPS from the Rangers were not that great. The main purpose of the Ranger obviously is taking out the support classes or taking out the the Spirit Masters or the magical classes or whatever, and it has a little bit of crowd controlling as well. The Ranger also has a little bit of crowd controlling. The DPS of the Ranger is okay. It used to be better, I believe, but now I feel like it went down a little bit. But the most important thing with the Ranger is that his stuns are amazing. So if a Ranger starts stunning you, the possibility that he takes down the healer is quite high, and he's also have, as I said, crowd controlling abilities. So in PvP especially, if you have a Ranger in your group, it is gonna be tough. And in some dungeons, like if you do PvP dungeons, sometimes people avoid to focus healer classes. They would rather go to a leather class or a cloth class to just take out the damage, and Rangers usually attack the clerics or the support straight away to just kind of distract them while they are trying to heal the group. So especially because they are distant fighters, they can stay away and they can jump away, and they also have one possibility which kind of separates the Rangers from all the other classes. That's the ability to use the malfunction. So the malfunction is basically a transformation which you can activate by killing mobs and PvP players. So if you kill them, you get a certain amount of DP, which is like an energy, and if that is on higher than I think 150 or something, the total is 4,000 you can get, and you use like a certain amount constantly, and if you're like constantly killing, it fills up again straight away, so you can stay in the mal form for a long time, and that just gives you a huge boost in PvP, PvE, like not the stats wise, but it just gives you a huge boost in play wise, because you get like improved stats and improved resistance and more mana and all that. So generally the Rangers can be a bit deadly. Yeah, but the only issue with the Rangers is that the DPS went a bit lower, I believe, but it's still really deadly. So if you have like a good Ranger in your group, it's definitely not a negative thing. So the next class is probably, in my opinion, probably one of the hardest classes in Aion. So the next class is the Assassin. The Assassin, even though right now is, in my opinion, and my opinion, keep in mind, comes not only from the European players, but also is combined with all the other servers around the world, especially Korean server. So in my opinion, the Assassin is right now the strongest class in Aion, PvP wise. The only issue though, keep that in mind, the issue though is that Assassin is extremely, he relies extremely on his gear. So if you do not have good weapons, your DPS will be like nothing. So you do need good weapons, and you do need to go on full attack to be like a beast with this class. So that's one thing. And the second thing is that he also uses stuns abilities, and crit abilities and all that. So, and there's also a new skill which makes a lot of crits for a certain time. So there is a possibility with the assassins that if you are a solo player, which is a good choice to be with an assassin, if you're like not in a group with like 3 or 4 people, you can take down even a full group. Just if you read your skills, if you're like if you have good gear and all that, because right now the assassin is one of the classes who, it's not even right now, it has been like that for a long time. The assassin is one of the classes who has the possibility to just take down even Templar with like a single rotation of 2-3 skills. And that's insane, to keep in mind that some Templars even have 100k HP, So in general, I would say the assassins are probably one of the most strongest classes in Aion, but also extremely tough to play. And many, especially on the European servers, have the issue with the assassin that there's like a ping issue. So you do need to have like a really good ping. If you don't have a good ping, if you don't have a good transformation, if you don't have good weapons, which are tier 2 legendary at least plus 10, your assassin won't be doing that much DPS in general. So I know that many of you, like listen what I say or listen to what others say, and then they're like, okay, I'm just going to be playing this class and I'm going to be the beast in Aion. It's not that simple, because mastering assassin is actually pretty tough, and it's not like that it's not possible. It is possible, but it just takes a little bit time. So if you have the time, if you do spend the time in that class, in general, if you spend the time in any class, you can become a master in that, obviously. But yeah, the assassin is probably a bit more beneficial than others if you are more PvP oriented than PvE, I guess. Okay, let's continue. So the next class is actually the Mage, which is like the sorcerer, the magical class. They used to be extreme at the beginning. Well, yeah, it's not like that they are not extreme anymore. They're still extremely good, and it takes a lot of skill to, because they're like kind of a little bit squishy, and especially if you're fighting like gladiators or assassin or something like that, there's a high possibility that those classes, if you have equal gear, like good gear and all that, and if you're equal good players, there's a high possibility that they will just easily take you down. So you have to rely on your CC a lot, just sleeping the other side, just using the right skills, and using your shield and all that to just stay away from the other person and all that. So the mage is actually it's good, but I feel like that right now in the current state of Aion, his DPS went a little bit down, so he does kind of rely on other classes to improve his DPS. You know, he needs like some a bar or something, I guess, to just improve. It's not like that. It's not like that he's not doing any damage at all. He is doing a lot of damage, but compared to other classes, if you, I mean, it's in Aion, it's general. If you don't have good gear, you don't do that much damage. But with the mage, you will do a good amount of damage. So twinking mage is probably not a bad idea if you just want to do some dungeon runs and just get some Kina and all that, because you can solo so much with the mage. So that's probably a possibility. But in general, if you want to be at the damage meter, if you want to be like the highest person or something like that, you will have a tough time at the beginning to find out the right rotation, and you know, you will need a little bit of help at the beginning to maintain everything. But in general, in PvP, the mages, if you play it right, can be a little bit tanky, but you do need your accessories to plus 15 for that, at least, you know, to be able to do that. Other than that, the mage is it's also kind of a crowd controlling class in some sense. It is possible to tank with him as well. I wouldn't say it's a solo player. I mean, there are players who play the mage solo, but I would say that the sorcerer, it's more, you know, takes more the role of a group, you know, activity, I guess. So after that, we have the Spirit Master. So the Spirit Master is actually, again, you know, it got nerfed, then it got, you know, improved, then it got nerfed again, and it got improved again. So even with 7.2, there are a lot of changes coming. So about at least 10 or 12 different skill changes are coming with the Spirit Master again. The thing which I don't like at all, even though his name is the Spirit Master, you don't really fight with your spirit anymore. Me personally, I hate the spirits so much, it annoys the shit out of me. If the, you know, the spirits are like just chilling around close to you, I hate them so much. So that's just me though, so probably you're different, I don't know. But again, in endgame, you don't use the spirits that often. You usually just summon the spirits to either, you know, like give you a shield, give you a buff, or dispel the group or whatever, or absorb them to, you know, improve your stats or whatever. So yeah, in general, you can think of, like, if you compare the sorcerer and the Spirit Master together, the sorcerer is more like the boom, extreme DPS kind of thingy, and Spirit Master is more like, let me dot here, let me dot that, let me dot another dot, let me cast this boom extreme skill, let me dot again. And in general, I mean, generally the sorcerer would do more DPS, but right now the Spirit Master is doing more DPS because of the buff and because the magic skills got reduced a little bit. So I know some of you magical classes like Sorcerer and Spirit Master will probably start screaming and shouting right now and will say, Felo, you're talking total nonsense and bullshit. The thing is that keep in mind that the point of view what I'm talking about the classes is, it's about having someone with maximum gear and being able to play the class in total. So if you keep that in mind, there's a high possibility that the Spirit Master will probably do more DPS than the Mage in general right now, if you are totally relying on your own skills and you're not buffed with anything else, and if you're not in a group. Yeah, so the Spirit Master is can be played as a solo player as well. He has the possibility to, you know, fight many players at once. But it just depends, you know, what your opponent is. If you have like a ranger in front of you and a gladiator and a healer class, there's a high possibility that if you don't take out the healer and if you don't take out the ranger, that you'll die. One important thing, because he has the possibility also, this is like the main crowd controller, like, you know, it was the main crowd controller at the beginning. Now there are more, obviously, because, you know, but the Spirit Masters are one of the beginner classes. there is a high possibility that you will be focused first in PvP arenas and dungeons. So yeah, so just keep that in mind. The most important thing with the Spirit Master, I guess, is being able to kite, being able to stay away from others, being able to just like control and fight many at the same time. That will probably improve your skills a lot, and that will probably keep you also alive a lot, because as a Spirit Master you are not that tanky, sadly. Well, not really sadly, but you are definitely not tanky. Okay, so after that, let me come to my favorite class, which is right now in Aion, the most useless class in Aion. Okay, well, it's not that useless. The thing is just, the Chanter right now is one of, like, he's supposed to be the support class, supporting the clerics and all that, the healer. But the issue with the Chanter is it had a huge improvements, in terms of healing and supporting and all that with 6.0. With 6.5, all those improvements got reduced, and with 7.0 they got reduced again, and the Chanter got put more into his direction, which the class is going to. So the Chanter right now, it's like, it is a good supporter. It doesn't go more into the healing kind of way. It's more into the supporting kind of way. Like, with the Chanter you have mantras which you just activate. So if you just have like a Chanter in your group standing next to you, he's already supporting you, even though he's not doing anything. He's just standing next to you, So this is one thing which kind of makes the Chanter so important and necessarily in group PvE or PvP. The second thing though is, like, if you well, that's more the downside, is that his DPS got reduced a lot. So right now I would say, if you compare all the healer classes together, the Bard, the Cleric and the Chanter is probably the last, in terms of DPS. So if you want to be like a solo player with a Chanter, I would suggest you should play something else, because even though like my gear is extremely good, and but even PvE, it just takes ages, and it's not like it's not possible. It is possible. Everything is possible with any single class. It's just like, it's just freaking annoying because your DPS is not there at all. But if you're like an idiot like me who will never give up on the class, on the main class, and you just want to believe and you just want to continue playing, keep in mind with 7.2 there's another 20% increase damage on PvE and PvP coming for the Chanters, so this will improve the DPS a little bit more. Right now it's really, like, right now it's a pain in the ass. Other than that, he has a strong heal for himself and for a group. I wouldn't say he's like the main healer, but the possibility is there. If you're not doing the hard mode dungeons, you can do any other dungeon. There is a possibility, if you have your divine skills, that you can heal on your own. The only issue with the Chanter is that you can't dispel. So dispel is not possible with the Chanters, and that kind of makes the Cleric a bit more important than the Chanters, and so many groups rather have like a Cleric than, if they just don't have a Chanter, they would just go with a Cleric and that's it. Especially, the easy mode dungeons are possible without like, I mean, sometimes you don't even need a healer at all, but you can also just go with a Cleric and you don't need a Chanter. With the Chanter it's just faster. Okay, so the next one is the Cleric. So the Cleric is basically the main healer in Aion. Even though I'm saying he's the main healer, he has the possibility to do, if you have like max gear and if you have like maximum, everything, you have the possibility to also be a DPS class. The most important role for the Clerics is, and I can't say that enough, dispel. So dispeling buffs which other players put on you, or even buffs which you get from PvE or whatever is probably the most important thing, because we all usually say on the server dispel before heal, you know. So if the classes are dispelled, they have the possibility to even, I mean, many classes get like a lot of HP while they use their different skills. So healing is definitely not a big thing in general if you're not doing the main dungeons where you get like, I don't know, 50-60,000 hits or something. But if you like just playing general, even in PvP or PvE, I guess displaying is pretty more important and amazing, and that's one of, even not one of the most important rules for you, that is the important rule for you. So if you are in a dungeon and you're not displaying, you're definitely doing something wrong, and you will be flamed and people will cry and flip out. So just do your job, and you know, I mean, if you want to be a healer, that's what is expected. And even though you have the possibility to do many dungeons on your own, because there is a possibility to do a lot of DPS with the Cleric as well, compared to the Chanter, yeah, that's just life. So you just have to decide what you want to do or what you want to go for. So other than that, let me continue with the next tree, which is basically the Gunner. The Gunner right now is kind of a dying species on the European servers, but it's also a dying species on the Korean servers. I think on Korean servers, I don't know, there are like 15 or 20 known, and on the European servers there are like, especially on Chromede, they are not Chromede, Odin. Odin is the server I'm on right now. So on Odin there are like 2 or 3, I think. It doesn't mean that there aren't gunner at all. There are many gunners. The only thing is, when I say 3 gunners, it's like 3 people who are kind of known, you know, who people know because they're like really high in the DPS meters, or who do, like, you know, if you do 1v1 or whatever with them, you can just feel the difference, you know, that they know exactly what they're doing. The Gunner had a huge damage improvement with the previous patches, which has been reduced. The Gunner sadly got a lot of nerfs, and right now, yeah, I mean, the thing with the Gunner is he has the possibility to take down a lot of mobs on his own. In PvP, since the Gunner is also a little bit squishy, it's, I don't know, I don't want to say it's useless, but it's just like, it's not up there anymore, if you get what I'm saying, you know. So it's not a bad choice to be a Gunner, but again, like the assassin, if you don't have good weapons, you won't be doing that much damage at all. And since you are not tanky at all as well, it can be tough to play a Gunner. Other than that, if you have gear, if you have everything else that is required for you, you have the possibility to do good DPS, but in general, it just depends on your playstyle. There are many players who just don't like how the Gunner is built and how he plays, but that's just something which you have to decide. So other than that, we have the other class, which is the Etag. The Etag, as you can see at the background, I don't know, sadly we can't see him, is a machine behind these 2 idiots. So it's that thing over here. So it uses like a sword blade, key sword, I guess, and you know, you can transform into this machine, and which is actually required and necessarily. Sorry. Because if you don't have, if you're not using the Etag machine, you are not able to do any skills at all. Right now, I would say that the Etag is probably the main second tank in Aion. You can be, like, the Etag can be, even in some sense, can be more beneficial than others in terms of tanking in general. So it's definitely not a bad choice to have an Etag, because it's a pretty amazing and pretty good character, and you know, in the playing style and playing sense and all that. The only issue though is it can be annoying with an Etag, because you know that the DPS got reduced a little bit, but that's something you will just see at the end game. And also, even though it's really tanky, it used to be resist into so many different states, which other classes would put on him, debuffs and all that. That has improved, increased a lot. That right now, the Etag would just take, can be put in fear, can be put in, stun and all that, and that was different before. So that's the thing with the Etag right now. Let's continue with the next one. So the next class is the Bard. The Bard is also a support class, but it goes more into healing. So as I said earlier on with the Chanters are more into the support, but they go more into shields and mantras and all that, and the Bard just goes more into healing and kind of displaying as well. So it's not a bad choice or bad thing to have a Bard there. Bard is actually pretty good and pretty amazing, especially Bard have the possibility to give you constantly mana back, which is necessary and needed. Some dungeons or some players even prefer having a Bard than a Cleric, because Bards also push the magical classes and the Chanter. The Bard also pushes the magical classes compared to Chanter. Chanter kind of push the magical classes, but not anymore that much as they're supposed to be back in the days. So as you can see, that Aion is kind of, at the beginning every class had their own role, and every class was doing some certain things, and after a while that got changed, that got switched a little bit, and now what actually happened is every class could do everything, and that is kind of changing a little bit more. As far as I can see, what is happening in Korea, Aion, or Play NC especially, is trying to force the classes back into their direction, what they were supposed to do at the beginning as well anyways. So most of the balancing that are happening are kind of pushing the classes back into their into their field, what exactly they were built for. So other than that, we have the new class, which is the Painter. The Painter class is actually right now extremely OP. Is one of the most OP classes in Aion. You do so much damage with that one, and even if you're not doing damage, you also have some sort of crowd controlling possibilities. The class is a little bit tanky as well. It can heal up himself quick. Soloing Painter is probably not a good choice. Playing in a group is definitely a positive thing. This class is pretty amazing and pretty OP, but for me, I just don't like Painter at all. I did play 2 Painters on Korea. I did level up my Painter on the European servers, but just how the feels of how this class plays and how this class fights and all that, I don't know. I just get annoyed by it, and I'm just not a fan of it. So I don't know. That's something you have to decide for yourself. And but in general, right now many dungeons can be completed with the Painter on your own. You don't need anyone else. The only issue you have to figure out at the beginning is there was an event going on where you would get tier 2 legendary gear. That event is over, so you would need a little bit gear, but gearing up in Aion in general is not that hard. It's quite easy, and it's kind of straightforward. It's kind of simple. It's not that big of a deal. Okay. So that is the current state of Aion after 10 years being out, and the game is active as it was on the first day. Okay, I don't want to say that because it was different for every single country and area, wherever Aion was published and brought out. But in general, the servers are pretty full, especially on the European servers. The European servers are generally pretty amazing and really good. So if you are planning to give Aion a try today, or I don't know, right now is probably the best choice to do that, because they were definitely going in a bad direction at 5.x, but since 6.0 they have improved a lot. So it's definitely positive to give it another try. Get yourself the gold packs, just plus everything to 100, get your legendary, decide for the class you want to go for, and just have fun and enjoy in Aion. Okay, so the next video will be coming soon. I know that I'm sometimes streaming, but right now video wise it's just I am not that person who is constantly making videos about randomness in Aion. I try to be more specific about what exactly I do, and usually I try to show what exactly is going on the Korean servers. And so I'm gonna be, since 7.0 is out already, I'm gonna be stopping with the 7.0 videos for now. So I'm just gonna be continuing. I've got one more video after this one coming out, which I'm gonna be comparing the Korean and the European Aion a bit more into depth. After that, I'm gonna be continuing with Aion 7.2, showing you, explaining you how the new map, which will come with 7.2, Catalan, which many of you probably know already, how that works, what exactly you can get, what the benefits are, and just in general leaving 7.0 behind, and just, you know, so you can players can start preparing for 7.2. Other than that, thank you very much for the for watching. Thank you for all the follows, by the way, on Twitch. Again, if you want to follow me on Twitch, I do stream sometimes. I do not have like a time schedule or whatever, but just come and hang out with me anytime you want. And thank you very much again for watching. See you, take care, and bye.